It is week one of the NFL season, and we are ready to go here on Panther Talk. Anish Shroff, Jim Szoke, Eugene Robinson, and live and in studio, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales. Welcome to week one, Coach.
Thanks a lot, guys. A lot of excitement out there today coming off of practice, and it's so much better to be here live with you all versus trying to battle Wi-Fi going down Providence Road.
We dressed up this studio for you, too. I don't know if you could tell. Added a few production values, the monitors.
It's amazing.
Man, Coach, you kind of put together, man. What's going on, man? You got a little muscle for you, Coach.
You know what? Age is just a number. You know, we just got to wake up every day and try to push the ball forward a little bit.
Well, we're all older than you, so we can answer that one for you. What's the key, and you've been through this as a head coach last year, but as a coordinator and so forth, what's the key, like the azaleas blooming at the Masters at the right time, to get your team peaking regular season first game at the right moment?
Honestly, every team is different. What I've seen now in 16 years is you have an expectation for what it can look like. I have visions and dreams of what our offense could be defensively with the people we added, but ultimately we go at the pace of how long it takes our guys to learn how to play football together. You know, and Eugene, you can speak to that as well. You know, where you might have a talented team, but until we can start communicating and get lined up and know exactly where we're at and trust each other, you know, that's where you really try to figure that out. But from a physical standpoint, you know, I got to give Josh Hinks, Denny Kellington a ton of credit with the job they've done with our guys, just oscillating the work, getting the pre-practice readiness, the post-practice, the lifts, the conditioning level of this group it looks great. We look fast, we look strong, we're relatively healthy, so I just really feel good about the physical strength of where we're at and the mentality of a group of guys who are excited to get after it.
Dave, what are the signs that cohesiveness is happening and coming along?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen on the practice field, in the walkthroughs. You know, I can see when there's a focus in a group where everything matters. If we don't fit a run right and the guys want to get it again, or they're talking to each other because they didn't match a concept properly or offensively, you know, the timing wasn't quite right on this motion, or, hey, we got to get that one again. You know, and they're asking me for repeats so that they can really get it right. Those are the things I've seen over the course of years. Special groups, they just care so much. You're in a walkthrough, and you might as well be in the game with the look on their faces because it matters. You know, and there's just an element of care that's so apparent with these teams.
Coach, where does the communication come from that the replication of voice on offense and also replication of voice on defense for Coach Avero?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off with Bryce, you know, and Austin Corbett, you know, making sure that they're getting the huddle set, making sure Bryce is communicating to the guys what he needs, getting the play out so they can be at the line of scrimmage and taking information. So it all starts there. It also is our skill group getting out and getting set quickly. Probably one of my biggest pet peeves is if we just kind of drag ourselves out of the huddle, what message does that send to the defense, you know, versus when you explode out of the huddle, you get set, here comes the motion, we know what we're doing, here we go, having that aggressive attacking mindset. And on the defensive side, you know, Christian Roseboom getting the call in, and those big boys up front getting their hand in the ground, you know, and we got hands on waist, hands on knees, you know, we're taking long to get set. You know, I know that we're not quite ready there. You know, it's just chatter in the back end, you know, it's the pass strength, where's it at, you know, making their rotational calls, making their different calls versus stacks and bunches, all those things. When those things are happening really crisp, then I know we're heading in the right direction from a communication standpoint.
Three big pieces of news for the receiver room since the last time we talked to you: the trade of Adam Thielen,
yep,
the reemergence of Hunter Renfrow, bringing him back, and then the injury to Jalen Coker. So kind of your thoughts on the position group of wide receiver right now.
What an absolute whirlwind, you know, and really just, you know, going through the Thielen trade, you know, and finding ourselves in a place where we felt like all parties kind of found a common ground with that one. And then, you know, with Jalen Coker, a great opportunity for Jalen, you know, and then Jalen getting hurt, he's going to be out for a little while. And then just the ongoing conversations that we were having with Hunter Renfrow throughout this week where all this other stuff is happening, you know, and I can't give Dan and Brant enough credit for just keeping the conversations open, being able to have the back and forth with Hunter, you know, with his agent, and, you know, ultimately having the conversations over the weekends where we found an agreement, and just the special timing of it, you know, like that we might have plans and we might have things in our mind, Eugene, but ultimately the Lord's plan that prevails. And for me, it was just kind of Hunter and I are standing out there on the practice field today. I was like, well, I wouldn't have pictured it happen this way. And he's like, me neither. But you know what? I'm so excited to be here. Let's go do it. And so I'm really happy for where we're at now.
Will Hunter be the starting slot week 1?
Oh yeah, he's got to be out there. And he's and I'm fired up that he comes back to us with a lot of excitement. And just his impact and effect that he has on the whole group as well. With T-Mac and with XL, 2 young guys that have a lot of talent, but it's so good to have those guys in there that have been there, played against different types of defenses, and I can only imagine the conversations they're going to have on the bench in between series.
Coach, talk to me about the defensive front, and particularly when I'm looking at that front 7. Your front 3 guys can actually put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks and also stop that running and get those double team blocks to allow those linebackers to go ahead and eat.
Yeah, I mean it's a really deep group on the edge and in the interior. Having Ashawn, Turk, Derek, and Bobby to be able to kind of rotate in there. They're very versatile along the front inside. So
they can play the 3-1. They can play all over there, right?
All those guys can play every single spot on our defense, which is really valid. They're different sizes. They have different attributes, but they're really intelligent and they're tough players. And so they give us some versatility inside. And then, to have Pat Jones, DJ Wanham, Nick Scorton, Prince Liam, and Meelan, those guys to be able to rotate on the edges, to be able to set edges and rush the passer. This is a really strong front that, again, they got to play together. They got to get more and more time. It's why we put them out there a couple times in the preseason to just kind of get a feel for each other for a couple of series. But I'm excited to see those guys play ball.
Talk about some of the young guys on the defense. Of course, with the 2 edge rushers, they had some health things in their back, and now you've got Lathan Ransom in the secondary, second year for Trevin Wallace, second year for Damani Richardson. So between these rookies and second-year guys, how excited are you about seeing their growth and what they can do in the defense this year?
These guys are so important where we're headed, the type of team that we're trying to build, and we brought some talent in, but as we all know, in this league, you got to develop your young talent. You got to get those guys out there to play ball. And I'm just excited about, the physical nature that they showed up to play with this camp. Trey Merrick, he changes that group. He shows up angry every day and practices. He practices with that level, that championship mentality. He practices that way every single day. Derek Brown, these are guys that I can point to. J.C. Horn, I can point to these guys for everybody else. Guys, this is how we practice. You don't have to go up. This is where you make our team. This is where we make us, right here on the practice field. And the games will feel normal if you do it, but you got to trust each other. But it's a lot of noise coming from me. But Eugene, as you know, when those guys in that locker room set the standard, this is how we work, that's when it becomes special.
Dave, have you settled on who that starting safety next to Trayvon Merrick's going to be?
Well, everyone will see that on Sunday. But what I do feel good about is we have great options in Nick Scott and Lathan Ransom and Damani Richardson, a bunch of guys who can do a lot for us. So. And we'll roll that group out there, but the hope is to play all those guys. They can all help us in different ways.
With Jacksonville being the week 1 opponent, a lot like you guys last year, where new coaching staff, you're trying to figure out what it is they want to do. How does that impact your game planning going into this one?
It really does. And I think the cool part about opportunities like this is that it makes it about us. Because you look at the preseason, we know they're not showing everything they're going to do, but you can see the bare bones of this scheme, of this core defensively, of this core offensively, basic run game, a lot of the same stuff that we do. So you have a good starting point. You can see where they've been in the recent past. So you might be able to expect some different things, but really until you get a couple of games in, it's hard to just say like, hey, this is going to be a 70% or better here. I got the perfect call. Like, those are going to be hard, and you don't really want to be chasing those when you have new play callers, and Liam Cohen's been calling it, but he's got a new set of skill players. He's got to use these guys in different ways, and so it's those in-game adjustments and our guys kind of communicating and playing together to figure out what's their plan for this day.
Coach, every team that comes out of a preseason, there's always a certain character of the defense and the offense. What have you identified as that character going forward with your guys as you get ready for Jaguars?
Physicality. It showed up all camp.
Eat.
It showed up on.
You got to go ahead and eat. That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead and eat, Coach.
It showed up in practices. It showed up in the games. This is a physically aggressive team that we have, and it's not just happening on game day. It's every day in practice to the point where we're like, okay, how long can I let this move the ball period go? Because these guys are getting after each other. And it all starts with the run game. And that's why we believe in it so much, because it just creates a level of toughness that you're going to have. You got to have it, to be able to play long into the seasons, in this league. So I'd say we can hang our hat on that. I think that this is a group, that gives high effort, a lot of strain. And we're hard on them. They're hard on each other. And I think that's one of the coolest parts. Again, this is the defense getting together before each team period. They get together before they go and break out there and get on the field, which is pretty unique. I haven't seen this in a while, really since I was in Seattle for a couple of those years where we had a group that played so long together. They kind of get together before they go out. This is a commitment. Here we go. And from snap 1 to snap 10, it's a physical bunch of guys just trying to blow things up.
Reggie White would call us up like that and say, hey, man, we got to come out here. We're going to bust people up. Get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready. So I know what you're talking about.
I love that.
It was really good. Okay, last thing for me, special teams. They've got a kicker with a huge leg in Cam Little. Punter the same way. You guys have that with a great punter, Sam Martin. How big of a factor, especially when teams are being put together kind of last minute coming out of training camp, is special teams in this game? Huge.
This is special teams is like near and dear to my heart. We preach this to our guys. Like, you're trying to make this team, you're going to have to contribute on teams. We got a bunch of young, fast dudes on our on our special teams, to be able to cover. And I think the kicking unit, in Jacksonville is going to present their challenges. So, but you're looking for any edges you can get, and special teams certainly can be one of them because of the hidden yardage, that's available there in the return game, and then when you're covering kicks, So, but I think Tracy's done a fantastic job, giving some different looks, things we've been working on since the spring, just to try to find an edge somewhere.
Dave, before we let you go, on your wristband there, you got a couple of words that are written. I think I saw breathe.
Oh, yeah.
What's the significance of those words?
Yeah, so my daughter, Ashby, I'm just like, my wife and I, we're their biggest fans. And just trying to encourage her, talking about self-talk, talking about remind yourself who you are and who you've been. And she made these bracelets, and the one says baller. She's like, Dad, you're a baller. And she's like, regardless of what happens, even if you have like a horrible play call, just remember you've called great plays. You will do it again. And then the other one is just breathe. Is just in those moments.
She came up with that?
Yeah, she just is something that we talk to them about all the time. Take a breath. She plays volleyball before she's going to serve. Take a deep breath, exhale. Your body calms down. Your mind's focused. And just do it again, and so just great reminders. So if I usually find a spot in the stadium to kind of focus on, take a breath, refocus, and sometimes I can just look down at my wrist and say, breathe, take a deep breath, go to the next call, just make the next call.
See, that's the perfect way to go to break. Take a deep breath, exhale. We'll be back with more Panther Talk on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.